Real talk, real life, real growth.
This is Raw Reality with Tori Story and Fit with Lily.
Jaz, welcome to the podcast. We are so excited to have you on today, talking everything to do with Ironman training and basically how you got into it. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
Of course. Well, we always ask our guests the same question to begin with, which is, what is one mindset shift that you wish you knew earlier?
I think it's going to sound really cliche, but just stop caring what people think. When I was younger, I went through, I want to say a phase. So when I was like super, super young, taking it back, I was a very like careless kid. And then getting to high school, I feel like you're just around like boys and all that situation. I started to really care what people thought. It held me back massively. And I've entered back in my era now of just like not caring. And it's been the best thing ever. So I wish I knew that like in the peak years of high school.
I feel like that's so evident for everyone just getting older naturally. Like as you mature, I swear it's like mid-20s is almost where that kind of like light bulb goes off in your head and you're like, oh, it actually does not matter what anyone else thinks but myself.
100%.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's not cliche because we all still get stuck in that like comparison trap.
Right?
So it's always just good to hear it again.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Okay, so to kind of like take it back, you originally did bodybuilding to begin with.
Yeah.
And you only did one season?
Yeah, one season.
And then you transitioned into triathlon training.
Yeah.
What was the transition there? Well, you went from basically aesthetic driven to then performance based.
Yeah, it's actually crazy when I fully think about it. And bodybuilding almost seems like, I don't know, like it seems like I didn't even do it, which is kind of crazy because I was in the gym purely weights for like, I want to say 7 years, which is, and then transitioning from purely weights to doing endurance, obviously polar opposite. So it was a weird change. And I was actually, when I first made the decision to do an Ironman and train for triathlon, I was peak build. I was about to go into a cut for the second season.
Oh, you were going to go again?
Yeah. So I like just finished my build with my coach but I just knew deep down like this is not for me and I didn't know what was, I guess. And because I've always been like a very driven, sporty person, I've always had something to train for. So I was like, oh, well, this is it for now. Like I've done a build, I'll do it next season. And at the time, like I thought I loved it, but in hindsight, definitely not for me. And then, I guess I transitioned into triathlon in a nutshell. Like I saw a video of a girl do an Ironman and basically I was just like, something was just like, you're going to do that. And then a couple of months down the track, it was February 2024, I started training just like off the whim and
And did you kind of still dabble in bodybuilding or did you just kind of been like that one video really just switched your mindset?
I still like was in the gym consistently. I still am in the gym consistently, but I very much so went from like doing gym 5 days a week, bodybuilding split to then a couple months later signing up for an Ironman. In those couple months, I was still doing bodybuilding stuff and I started to do a couple of runs, like a couple of swims when I went back home for Christmas, like just to see the vibes. And then, when I signed up to a coach and started fully training for the Ironman, it was basically just like gym was just for injury prevention things and like 2 times a week basically. So it was a crazy change.
So your mindset went from not like just competing in a triathlon. It went all the way to the extreme level and doing Ironman straight away. So that's like what you just set your mind on immediately.
And I feel like that's me to a T. Like people really think I'm crazy, but I don't know. I'm just not drawn to the smaller I was never drawn to like a triathlon Olympic distance. Like they're cool and they're fun. But for me, I was like, nah, I want to do a challenge. And at the time, I thought it was like a one-off big challenge. Little did I know, but like,
Take it everyone through what actually is involved in an Ironman in comparison to just like a regular Olympic distance triathlon.
Yeah, so a full Ironman is a 3.8K swim, 180K ride, and then a marathon, so 42.2K run.
It's just like, just a marathon.
At the end
just a
of all of that.
Yeah. Which is crazy.
And then what's an Olympic distance?
Olympic distance is, honestly, correct me if I'm wrong, anyone, but it's 1.5K swim, I believe, 40K ride, and then a 10K run.
Right. So you're sprinting almost.
Yes. It's so different. It's like you're fully redlining. And even there's like a sprint distance, there's super sprint. So there's like so many in the world of triathlon. And then Ironman and like long course is like, the 70.3s and the full Ironmans.
When you made that transition and you were like, I'm signing up to this comp, how long from that point until the competition was there?
I gave myself 10 months.
Okay. And then so what did your routine look like once you made that switch?
So when I made the switch, it was basically just I actually started cycling a couple months in. So I only had 6 months to build up my ride, which was pretty silly in hindsight, like because it's the biggest leg of the Ironman. So the first few months was very much swim and run based and just like getting my body used to it, which it did not get used to it. Like running, and I've still will probably get into injuries and stuff, but running was definitely something that I had like runner's knee. I was like always sore just because running's so high impact. So the first few months I was like, wow, like this is a lot on the body, but I was just like getting it done every day. So yeah, it was very much run and swim, gym a couple of times a week. And then from April onwards, it was building up my bike as well. So, and it's crazy because with bodybuilding, it's very much so like you train in the gym and then, you know, you do your steps and then you recover. And it's very much so like resting and, you know, especially in build phases and things. Whereas triathlons, it's like no really rest days.
There is no rest.
That's what I asked you. I think we went on a walk once. I was like, so when do you rest? You're like, oh, like I don't.
Obviously, you have so much to fit in. It's like,
yes,
you have to swim, you have to bike, you have to run. And then you're gymming to like injury prevention and build strength in the areas that you need. And it's like, so
where do I lie? It's crazy.
So you actually like don't have a rest day for the week?
It's like very, very rare. And don't get me wrong, like everyone's different. So if someone's getting to Ironmans now and they have scheduled rest days, like amazing. But everyone is, very, very different. And like when obviously you're tapering and if you've had a really big week, like injured, obviously rest days. I was sick like a few weeks back, rest day. But it's quite rare.
I train 4 times a week at the moment for 45 minutes. And today I'm like, do you reckon I can fit it in?
Yeah. I'm not sure. It's like when we're with Katie, it's like, she's like, oh, I've got to do a bike and a swim. And I'm like, oh, I've got 30 minutes like Pilates. I'm not sure.
It is so different. What's something that you had to change or sacrifice the most in your routine now in comparison to what you used to do?
I mean, like just free time. Like I feel like I don't have much free time, which I'm fine with now. But actually probably like business side of things. When I was doing bodybuilding gym stuff, I was also focusing on my business, like hugely growing that and going out on my own. Whereas now like it's going great, but I'm not in my era of like scaling and having a lot of time to work on business side of things. So yeah.
It makes sense. You can't do it all with
I can't do it all. Yeah.
Literally do not have time in the day at all.
Literally.
Take us through what a usual training day or week would look like.
Okay, so at the moment, it does change a little bit, but at the moment, let's say a normal week at the moment is like 20 hours to 24 hours a week. I am a couple months out of an Ironman, so that's like we're building now. We're in a stage of building back up. Normally, it's a double session per day. There's a very rare, like today's a triple session, but one's a gym, but like at the gym for me, I'm like, it's 45 minutes. It's so chill. So it doesn't feel crazy. But yeah, it's quite different. But normally like if I do a double session, I'll always get up and train in the morning early. And then the next session will probably be like midday or early arvo, but potentially midday.
So what 3 do you have today?
So I had this morning I did a run, gym, and I've got a bike set.
So how far is the run this morning?
It was 9K.
Right. And how far is the swim?
The bike?
Also the bike, yeah.
It'll be like an hour and 20 on the trainer. So it's nothing crazy.
It's just time.
Yeah, that's time.
It's just time.
It's time, yeah.
And you don't realize how much like probably when you have a rest day now, you're like, what do I do?
Honestly.
Like, literally, what do I do?
No, literally. And if I think about myself when I was just in the gym, I was like, what did I do with my time? And I was also living in Ellie Beach, which like there's not much to do there. I don't know what I was doing. Like obviously building my business. But when I think about it, I'm like, that's crazy to me.
That's wild.
So you did your first Ironman, was that 2024? And
2024, yeah.
And so what comps have we done since then?
So Ironman Bustleton was end of 2024.
Yeah.
That's where I qualified for Kona.
Yeah.
And then my next race was Kona. So last year was an absolute shamble with like injuries and setbacks. So nothing went to plan besides Kona, which I was lucky I even got there, to be honest. But I had, a few races before that, but that was my next race. So I'm really like fresh into racing, which is crazy. It just,
Surely for an Ironman though, you're not really doing back-to-back races. It's very much
exactly.
like you have like your pivotal ones throughout the year and then you're just
Exactly.
training around that.
Yeah, like you have your A race, and like ideally I would have loved to have done like a couple of halves before Kona last year. That's probably the way to do it. Like you can do more halves obviously than fulls.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I want to jump ahead a little bit and just go to the Kona race just so we can like dive straight into that because it's a pretty big deal in the world of like the Ironman. And why is that?
So Kona is like the iconic place of Ironman. It's like where Ironman was born.
Right.
So the world champs are held there every year. They split up the men and the women, but they've now conjoined that back again. So last year was the last women's only world champs, which was cool to be a part of. But I feel like it's really good they've brought that back together because it was like alternating. The men would be in Nice and then the women would be in Kona, and then it would alternate for the past few years.
Right.
But Kona's like the icon of Ironman, if that makes sense. And it's like a very hard course. The heat is crazy.
Yeah, because it's in Hawaii.
In Hawaii, yeah.
Yep, okay.
Yeah.
And what heat does it get up to while you're racing?
I don't know the specific temperature. Like if you were to look at it, it wouldn't be that hot, but it's like the humidity. And because you're racing next to lava rock, it's like if you search up Kona, it's just like black rock on the bike course, specifically on the highway,
Right.
the Queen K. Yeah, it's like the iconic highway, but it's intense. Like the heat radiates off the lava rock. Like it's just full on and it's so humid.
Well, thank God you train in like Queensland in comparison to someone who
Literally.
trains in like Melbourne or Sydney even. You'd be used to the cold.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't know what to do with yourself almost.
It would be hectic, yeah.
Did you expect to qualify for this race? Like how did you
No.
be able to qualify?
So I'm not entirely sure. The qualification system's changed this past year, but when I qualified in Busso, I had literally no expectations. So when I first signed up to the Ironman, like I mentioned before, it was very much so just a challenge, like a big challenge to do, and that would be my training for the year. Little did I know, like I would actually love it and do well in my first Ironman. So I came first in my age group in Busso, and if you come first, you automatically qualify for Worlds. There is like a roll down, so if people don't take their qualification spot, it can roll down to the people below you.
Yeah.
Did you know at that point, like, you could qualify for Worlds? Like, were you aware of, like, kind of next steps, or were you just like, yep, this is a competition, I want to challenge myself?
I was aware of Kona, like I knew about Kona, but I had no idea that I would like qualify or win or go, like at all. I was just like, no, basically. Like to be honest, I did write it down in my notes of like a cool goal would be to go to Kona, but I'd never actually thought it would happen like on my first Ironman.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Come first.
Yeah, like
So how long was your first Ironman? Like how long did it take you?
it took me 11 hours 19, which like me now, I'm like, it's just so funny when you progress because I look back and I'm just like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it was great. Like for my first Ironman and for me not really knowing what the hell I was doing, like stoked.
And what are you like aiming for time-wise now? Like what's the difference?
Well, like now I would for my next Ironman, this is crazy. I'd never really say these things.
Okay.
But I would love to be like low 10.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you're cutting off a good hour.
Yeah, so at Kona, I was 10 hours 17.
Yeah.
Obviously quite a hard course and I was injured. So
Yeah.
it's just like, and it's hard to say with times because every course is different. You don't know what the conditions are. Like there's so many things that go into like the course and, you know, the variables.
It's almost like you have to have like a time per course that you kind of go off. It's on like a 100-meter sprint where you're trying to hit a PB every time. It's so different.
Absolutely. And to be honest, like for my next Ironman too, I have splits of like the swim back run. So I kind of look at it like that.
That does help.
But also, it's just,
Yeah.
You've got the next Ironman coming up in a couple of months. Where's that?
That's in Cairns.
In Cairns.
Yeah.
Nice. And so what does training look like at the moment? Obviously you're in, I guess, that peak position right now to be building. What does training look like at the moment?
So my run is still not where I want it to be. So I had a pretty big injury in Kona last year. So I've only kind of like recently returned to run, which is quite crazy to say, given that I'm a couple months out of an Ironman. But it's one of those things where it's like, I'm training my ass off. If I don't race, then what's the point? So it's like just managing that the best of my ability the next couple of months. So running is building back up now. It'll be my run volume for the week, say this week will be around like 35K, I think, which is like not too much at all in comparison of where it probably should be or where I'd want it to be. But it's just like working with that. My biking is quite high because I'm not running as much. So that's great for my fitness too, like across the run. That'll be around, I think I'm biking around over 400K this week. Swim will be around like 17K this week.
Yeah.
That's this week, yeah.
I feel like that's just in this week.
Yeah, it's just like, I think for the person who's not really, and now you're in that realm, like your friends are all doing it in terms of like who you train with, and it's just so normal for you. But someone looking from the outside, I'm like, holy shit, that is so much volume on your body, which is insane.
And this is the thing, it can be a little bit like, it just becomes normal. Whereas when you then talk to people who are outside of triathlon, it's like, that's not really normal.
I mean, I think to like last year when I was competing, I was doing 25, 30 hours.
Yes.
And it's just like, you just do it. And you're like,
Literally.
oh, well, it's normal when you speak to people and they're like, what do you mean?
What?
Like,
Yeah.
But so I get it. But then I think about the fact that you're swimming and running and biking. I was throwing people around.
Yeah.
But everyone has their thing.
It's just so different.
Yeah. Obviously, consistency is huge. How do you go on the days where, you know, you're not feeling motivated and you're like, well, I've got to get up and do 3 sessions today?
Yeah. There's like no, as you guys would know, there's no like magic thing that comes to mind. It's just like the discipline of just getting it done. And, you know, like it's different if you're injured or if you actually need a bit of a deload. But if it's just a day where it's like, oh, I'm not feeling it, which quite often, like I'm never really motivated. It's just
to go out and do like a 3-hour ride, like who's motivated to do that?
Literally, like it's just like, and I do love it, but there's times where obviously I would rather just like not go swim after a big ride. But it's just like, then I think about my goals. I think about me being able to do that. And like years ago, I would have like dreamt to have been in the position I am now to be able to like push my body to the limit I do. So I think perspective is what gets me through on those like really low motivational days and just like I get to do it.
Remembering your why and like,
Yeah.
you don't want to ever get to the competition and go, oh, I could have pushed harder.
That's it.
Or I could have done this. I feel like I had so many of those growing up, whereas last year I was like, I got to every comp knowing I did everything.
And that's the thing that gives you confidence on race day as well.
Yeah.
It's like you've done literally everything you can. Like that's enough.
Especially for how hard an Ironman is. It's like if you don't do the work now, it is going to be extremely difficult to even complete the race. And a lot of people forget that. People do pull out halfway through races. Like it's not like it's easy breezy for 11 hours straight. It's like people pull out, and if you don't put the work in now, you could be one of those people, or like something could happen. You could get an injury because your body's not used to that volume and output. So it's so important to just continue to show up on the days that you don't feel like it.
Yeah.
If you have to like strip it right back, what are the non-negotiables at the moment for your progress?
I mean, like what we're just talking about, consistently showing up, but also the recovery side of things. Like that's so important to me. So that's not just like the saunas and the sleep hugely, but also like food and keeping on top of nutrition. Like that's massively the fourth discipline of endurance training and triathlon training. So for me, like that's just an absolute non-negotiable of keeping on top of that a lot more than probably I did last year.
Yeah.
Even though I was all over it last year, but it's just like when you're at the point of pushing your body to such big volumes each week, and I haven't been doing this for years and years on end, like you really need to be all over that stuff. So yeah.
A question that I always have for people who have trained a lot in their own discipline is like, how do you go around traveling? Because you can't just like travel and take time off.
Yeah.
And I know that I've seen you go on like a few trips with like Red Bull and things like that. And obviously like they do fun activities, but it's not your type of training. How do you go navigating that at the same time?
Honestly, it is a little bit difficult. But in saying that, like when I went on the Red Bull trip last year, I already had done Kona. So I was like very chill of like, I can do what I can do and that's okay. If I was to go on a trip like next week, I don't know how I would go, like even mentally missing out on things when you're like peaking a build for an Ironman. But I feel like there's always things you can do. Like I can always find a pool or I can always swim in open water. If not, I'm sure I can always run. So it's just like managing what can I do. And this is something I always think about in any perspective anyway. It's like control what you can control. Don't worry about what you can't. But yeah, it is a little bit difficult.
Yeah, I was going to say, because it's only so like you can only get up so early. Like you can't get up at like 2 a.m. and try and fit it all in. Like it's just so unrealistic. So would you say that you sacrifice a lot right now for what you're doing?
Yeah, for sure. And even if I think about, like I was talking to my best friend the other night and we're just talking about like what I could potentially improve on. There was like we're doing a bit of a Q&A.
I love that.
And I was just thinking like, I don't know, I feel like I could improve on my work-life training balance. But then also I'm like, but no, because you have to give something when you're in an Ironman block. Like it's just true. Like you can't do it all. You can't show up with it all. So yeah.
How long is your block?
So I've got like 8 weeks until the race. Normally like it'd be around 12-week block. But in saying that, like beforehand, it's still one of those things where you're kind of training and maintaining your fitness.
During an Ironman, it goes for 11 hours. So it's all hopefully nearly 10. What keeps you going through that when you start to hurt and when the head noise starts to get really strong? What do you tell yourself to get through?
This is one thing that I do. I will say I'm good at, which I never really say these things, but I feel like my mindset is what probably sets me apart because like I'm not naturally gifted in a sense. Like it's one of those things where I work my ass off, but it's because of my mindset. And I don't know, I don't have the answer of like where it came from. It's always been that way. I even talked to mum the other day and apparently I've always just been very stubborn. And that's what I guess like toy on in an Ironman when it is like really difficult. Specifically talking about Kona, I had this hectic injury. I was like 30K into the run and I just felt like I was like literally going to break in half with this injury. But I was just like, do not stop. And I was thinking about again, like I get to do this. Me younger when I was like super sick, literally on my deathbed, she would like die to be able to go run a marathon. So I just think about perspective. It really does get me through. Like perspective is massive. I've literally got it tattooed on me.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things where I'm just like, I really draw on the mental strength.
I think like you said as well, it's just like don't stop. No matter how
Literally.
you feel, just put one foot in front of the other, one arm in front of the other.
Yeah.
And you're just going to get closer and closer every single time.
Yeah.
What do you think about? Because you can't have headphones, right?
No.
See, that's what just like baffles me. Because I'm like, even like when you're running a marathon, you can't have headphones, but you train. Do you train with headphones?
You can in a marathon, can't you?
You can in a standalone marathon.
Yeah.
But not if you're racing.
Not in an Ironman.
Not in
but
Ironman,
if
but in
it's
a
if
marathon
it's just
you
a
can.
running marathon.
Yeah.
Didn't think you could.
Yeah, which I'm like, oh my God, that's crazy. Like,
So what do you think about?
in the swim, I use like visualization. So I will think about when I get out of the water, what I'm doing. So go to a transition, go to my bike, and then think about me on my bike. Like I really use that, which is such a game changer because then when it gets to the time of doing it, it's just like boom, boom, boom.
You want that to be like as seamless as possible.
Yeah. And then on the bike, let's talk Kona specifically last year. I was with my age group, we started kind of last in like the wave of the swim. So you then can you kind of have to overtake people ahead of you that are a bit slower and things like that. So on the bike, it was very much so like you would see packs across this whole entire highway and I would just like play games with myself of just catching the next one and then it would just be like continued on. And because when I got out on the bike, my coach was in Kona and she was like, you're coming 6th. So when I was on the bike, I was like out of the water. When I was on the bike, I was like, I wonder if this person I'm just overtaken is my age group. So it was like kind of keeping me, But I was also like, I have my power, I have my heart rate zones like of what I need to stick out. So it's kind of like you're very occupied and you're thinking about that and like nutrition, all of the things.
Yeah, a lot to think about.
Yeah. I was also going to say like, can you push to a certain extent? Because you obviously can't go too hard because you're going to hurt yourself too early.
Yeah.
But then you do have that little bit more adrenaline on a comp day.
Yeah.
That'd be hard to balance.
Yeah. It is. It's a really hard, and that's why you see people like blow up. Even like obviously the pros are at another level, but when they fully go crazy on the bike and then they're walking a marathon, it's like they push too hard. So yeah, my coach was very like in my ear about my bike at Kona and just saying obviously the heat is one extreme, but the amount of people who don't finish at Kona is crazy. She's like, you've come all this way, like do not, even though if you feel great, just stick to your power that I give you because you don't want to burn too much on the bike and then be cooked for the run.
It's like when you think about it, I'm driving a car for 8 hours. I'm getting bored. I'm like an 8-hour car ride. You're racing for 10 hours and it's like how you feel. It's just like so polar opposite. But like you're driving like, I don't know, hour 2 of the car trip and you're like, oh yeah, I feel fine. It's going to be easy. And then all of a sudden it hits hour 10 and you're like, oh my God, like I'm about to fall asleep. Yeah. And it's the exact same with you. Like, yeah, you can feel great at hour 2, but you don't know how you're going to feel in 6 hours time.
Yeah.
Does it feel that long?
It honestly doesn't. Like it goes quite quick. There's some training rides where like you're out on a Saturday and that's way more of a drag than racing.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
What's your favorite discipline out of the 3?
I love cycling.
Yeah.
love cycling. Yeah.
And that was the one you started last.
Yeah. And I hated it my first year.
Interesting.
Like absolutely hated it. But I feel like because I was so injured last year, that's the one thing I could do somewhat consistently. And then I saw heaps of progress and I was just like loving it. So
Where do you ride in the Gold Coast? Like, you can't really ride on the highways.
no, there's like, you can go hinterland. So like back in Wollongbar over like Springbrook. Do you guys know Springbrook?
No.
Yeah, like all in the hinterland.
Okay.
In the hills, yeah.
Have you had the one coach from the beginning?
No. So I started with a coach and he wasn't it. So we left him like a couple months in. Then I was with my previous coach for that whole time until a couple of weeks back. I've changed coaches now, which is a big change. Yeah.
Wow. That's exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited for
A
it.
new set of eyes.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your programming's different?
It's like very similar but different. It's just like different with load, and it's really cool like learning people's perspectives. And the coach I'm with now, I'll give him a shout out. It's Jack Sauce. He's local here. I've been around him for a year, so he's very much like known my last year of injuries and things like that. And it's just good to get other people's perspectives. Yeah. And especially being in person, it's really beneficial.
Oh, that would help a lot.
Yeah.
I just wanted to touch on the perspective thing again because I feel like a lot of people can see the perspective after the thing. Whereas I feel like what everyone could take from what you just said before is like seeing the perspective in the moment. It's like, you know, you might finish a race and then go, oh, in hindsight, I should have done this. But it's like if you can bring that into your race, competition, whatever it is, I think so many people would benefit.
Oh, it's huge. And I feel like where people go wrong as well is they're not present.
Yeah.
So it's like you're thinking if you're 20K into a run and you've got however long to go, it's like, oh my God, what about this? Or like, when am I going to finish there? What's my pace in 10K's time? It's like just focus on the present moment, and that will like answer so many like of your questions as well. It's like if you focus on the now, it's literally all you can control. You probably keep moving quicker anyway or more efficiently. It's just like, yeah, one of those things where I feel like a lot of people lack.
Yeah. No, I really like that.
Injuries. You were riddled last year with them. Take us through what happened specifically for Kona.
Yeah, so when I qualified for Busso, end of 2024, it was like, woo, everything was great. And then there was like a massive life change. I broke up with my partner, moved to the Gold Coast, which was all amazing. Like I was super excited. And then shit kind of went downhill, if I'm being honest. Like I got hit by a car on the bike. So that was my first.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so I broke my scapula. And like I'll name all the injuries. It's just like, you know, shit happens. It's people have worse things, but broke my scapula. I then tore my quad. I had a stress reaction in my sacrum. Then had a stress fracture in my sacrum, which was the one for Kona. But sorry, before the stress fracture, I had like a rib, like intercostal strain issues. Yeah, it was just like, and there was literally, which I hate to admit, but there was not 1 week or day last year that I wasn't carrying an injury, which is so not right.
So it's almost like one thing went wrong.
Yeah.
Sorry, one thing got fixed and something else happened.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, constant. And if I honestly think about last year, I'm like, how did I don't know how I even coped. And then to do like work on top of that, yeah, it was just crazy.
So you had a stress fracture in your back while completing Kona.
Yeah. Which
Did
I
you-
really kept on the DL because I like probably like it's silly. But you know what I mean?
Like, was dumb.
It was dumb, but what do you do?
Did your coach know heading in?
Yeah, so that popped up 2 weeks before, which it was I had the stress.
Oh, only 2 weeks before you went,
yeah.
right.
So I had the stress reaction a couple months back. And then
Progressively got worse.
yeah, so I knew when I meant to go for my last 30K run, which I didn't have barely any consistency with running last year because of all these injuries. So I meant to go for my last 30K run, which I was like so keen about. I woke up and I was just like fully new because it was the same pain as the reaction, but worse. And I was like, okay. So I texted my coach and I was like thinking maybe it's like my QL was really tight. Like I've had massive weeks, 2 weeks out, like kind of about to taper. Surely my body might just be a bit tight. But I deep down knew. And I texted my coach and she's like, don't do your run, have a full rest day. And I was like, that's crazy. So I was so in my head about that. So I had a rest day and then like it was manageable. Like I went for a ride, but this is all before I went to Hawaii. But I was still a bit concerned of like, I'm not sure what's going on. Saw my physio. He did a few testing, the exact same thing about like my reaction. And basically was just like, without saying it, I was like, yeah, okay. So he's like, you choose basically like, just see how you go. You've booked your flights, you've paid. Like I've paid to go. It was so much money. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to go. I didn't do any running 2 weeks leading into Kona. And even like I saw mum and dad at the airport because they don't live here. So I met them at the airport and we had to run to our flight because we was like so late. We're going to miss our connecting flight in Sydney to Hawaii. And I couldn't run, but I didn't want to, like I was like, yeah, really bad. And I didn't want to say anything. So I was like kind of like speed walking and mum's like, what are you doing, Jaz? Like run, you're about to do an Ironman. Like what's wrong? And I was like, no, nothing. Like
I'm coming.
Yeah, I'm coming. So I was trying to be so like chill, but I was so, I
They didn't
can't
know
even,
about it?
nah, I can't even explain like the head noise of that week before the race too. Cause I was like, and I'm not one to just like go do it la-di-da-da, like want to pull out. Like I wanted to go hard. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think too, you know, I was in the same position years ago with a back fracture.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so silly. Like, you know, you've got people telling you not to do it or you're hiding it from people because you know you shouldn't.
Yeah.
But in the same breath, you do know your body and you
Yes.
had trained for how many months with the reaction.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, what are my risks? What are, you know, the pros and cons, I
Literally.
guess, to the situation. And at the end of the day, you know your body. And obviously you got through and you did well. But mentally it doesn't help.
No. Yeah. It was crazy.
So on the starting line, you know that you have an injury and you're about to go on one of the hardest tracks essentially in the world for this race. What was going through your head?
I had a massive goal. Like if I'm being honest, I wanted top 3 at Kona.
Goes from doing like her first ever comp, just coincidentally qualifying, then goes,
first
top
place.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, the audacity on me. But when we were lining up to go, it was a floating swim start. So you have to swim out, let's say 50 meters, float for what feels like 10 minutes because it's just like, it's obviously like, 30 seconds, but it feels forever. And then the gun goes off and you're going. And I remember just floating there and everyone's in the age group. And I was like, okay, I know I want to do really well, but also I don't know what's going to happen on the run. So I was just thinking, just literally give it a red hot crack, give it the best you can and whatever happens, happens. But it's so crazy to say, it sounds woo-woo, but I just knew, like I literally had a feeling that I'd come third and I knew that it was going to be okay. And I was going to cop the effects after it, but I just like knew I'd be fine.
Do you think it helped that the run was last? So it was almost like, okay, I've done the 2 things I can do.
Yeah.
If I get through this run, I'm done.
Yeah, 100%. And even like when I got out of the water and I was like running to my bike, in like the instant, it should not be on your mind. My instant thought was like, how's my back feel with like 10 steps, you know? And then so the bike was fine, which is kind of odd, but it was also adrenaline. And by the time I got on the run, obviously heaps of adrenaline. I was in a really good position. So I was like, okay, marathon to go. Popped a few Panadol.
Yeah, okay.
And I was just like, it is what it is.
yeah.
How does your coach communicate with you throughout the race?
Then
They're
they
just following
can't.
you. Oh, they can't.
They can't. Yeah, they're not allowed.
okay.
Yeah.
Also not even, so how did you know you were?
Oh, people on the sidelines, if I like run past, or on the bike, if I was going up a little bit of a hill, my coach was there and she yelled out like, you're 6.
Yeah.
So that's allowed, but there's no like actual comms of like on the phone or whatever.
Right, that makes sense. What did you feel like going over the finish line then with the injury? Did all of a sudden it hurt or like pain come through?
So honestly, like the first 10K weren't bad, if I'm being honest. Like I actually felt pretty good. It was then like after the 10K, and with Kona and the run course, it's kind of like out and back. So you're not with the crowd. The first 10K is through the crowd and then like you're out and see you later. It's like rolling hills on the highway by yourself. It's quite like barren. When I got out of the crowd up the little hill and then you kind of have around 30K to go, I was then like, crap, like my back, I could really feel it. It was super bad. Like at 30K, I was like, nah, this is crazy pain. But I'm just so stubborn. I was like, you're not stopping. Like, do not let your pace drop. Just keep moving. Like you've come this far, you're not going to just start walking. So I was just like,
just one foot in front of the other.
yeah. Literally, I was like, just keep running. And everyone was like in the same boat of we're in a really hot part of the run, which is like the energy lab. It's super hot. There's no wind. It's like intense heat and everyone's struggling anyway. Like if you run past people, like you're kind of running past, everyone's in the same boat of struggling. So I was like, no one is really going to know that I'm in so much pain right now. So kind of fake it.
Yeah.
So that's what I was doing. And then I saw my coach out there. She had her bike. So there was a couple of her athletes that she was watching. And then when I saw her, I think I was around, it would have been around the 32K mark. And then she's like, you're coming third. And I was just like, okay, you're
Hold
not.
it.
Yeah, hold it. You're not dropping.
Wow.
And then when I crossed the line, it was, as soon as I stopped, I was, no good on crutches the next day. Yeah.
Do you know straight away what you placed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I crossed the line. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have made like
Wow.
everything worth it.
Oh my God. Yeah. It was like, and I had to, so when I was coming is around 2K to the finish line, I saw mum and dad, which I was surprised about. I thought they would be at the finish line because it's like a bit of a mission to get there. And I saw mum and she's like, sprint, like the fourth behind you is 20 seconds back or 60 seconds, she said something. And I was just so delusional at that point. I was in so much physical pain. I haven't ever even like talked about it properly because I'm just like wiped it from my memory. I was in, and as soon as I saw mum, I started crying and she's like, are you okay? I was like, I'm about to break. If I stop, my sacrum's going to break in half. Like I just felt so like I was going to break. And then she's like, sprint. So I was like, oh my God, so I had to bring it home. I was like, I'm gonna have
your
to
legs up on the
sprint.
way.
And it's funny because one of my things I was telling all of my mates I train with when they say like, oh, what do you want to do at Kona? I always keep my goals on the DL, but I always said like leave it all out there. So when I had 2K to go and I was sprinting, I was like, this is literally
I'm going to leave it all out there. And I'm going to leave my sacrum back there too.
My sacrum's back there.
That's
insane.
That is crazy. Well,
Yeah.
you did it. And
How many were in your age group at Kona?
I don't know. I feel like there was maybe 100. I could be wrong.
shit.
Yeah, it's insane.
I could be
I
wrong.
think it was like
don't know.
20.
No, it could be like 80 to 100, I believe.
Right.
So people can go back and, it's something like that.
Wow, so you really did push. That's
I
insane.
pushed, yeah.
You're like, yeah, I did it.
Far out.
Wow.
Going a bit more into nutrition now, you said a little bit earlier that is definitely one of the keys to help you not injured and staying on top of your recovery. How many calories would you say you eat roughly a day for the amount of training you do?
I think if I was to say on average, it'd be around 3,500. But, some days, like Saturday, for example, I've got pretty big Saturdays at the moment. It would be over 5,000. That's including bike nutrition.
That is wild scenes. Like 5K cals.
And I think some people don't realize as well, like when you're first getting into endurance, like even if I think about my first year, I wasn't injured at all, which is great for me, but I definitely underfueled. Like if I think back on like 4-hour rides, I would take hardly anything, feel so zonked after it and like really hit a wall. But that's just like, that's not meant to be like that. You're meant to be feeling fueled and energized. And yes, obviously you're fatigued, but not to the point where like you're bonking every ride.
There's like a difference
Yes.
of how you should be feeling.
Huge difference, yeah.
So when you say fuel on your bike, is that just like gels?
Yeah, so gels, I personally take like maple syrup. So you can, it's
Nice.
love it.
Yeah.
Maple syrup in like a little gel flask thing.
Yeah.
Which is great. Easy that you get carb mix in your bottles,
Yeah.
lollies and things like that. When you get closer to a race, you normally do like your race nutrition, which is, for me, it's a drink mix. So I'll use drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you fit all of that when you are doing an Ironman? Like that's a lot of food for 11 hours. And you don't have pit stops, do you?
Or you can if you want. So there's
Okay.
like special needs. You can have like a bag of special need things. So you can put whatever you want in there.
Right.
But for me, like I'm not stopping.
Yeah.
You know what
Well,
I mean?
it's like, it's going to take away from my time. Like,
Yeah, I'm absolutely not stopping. So I have, so during an Ironman, I carry 4 bottles, I believe, on my bike.
Yeah.
So most of them are with carbs. You can have gels, like there's little storage things in your bike. Most bikes have them.
Right.
And then on the run, when you get to transition, you can then pick up your gels and whatever you have. Yeah.
Because I guess like you've got everything in place from when you're getting off your bike, changing your shoes, going into your run.
Yeah.
And the
Have a
run, do you have a
little-
belt on your run?
Yeah.
For it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
And then
so-
obviously you don't have anything to swim.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How did you go from transitioning from bodybuilding, which is very much like, I guess, under eating, to then going into now performance, which is essentially for the average person overeating, but for you it's normal in terms of the calories that you need. How did you go with that mindset shift and almost getting out of that nothing to everything mindset? And like you said, your very first year, you probably did undereat, but that was probably because the education side of things wasn't there.
Exactly, yeah. I think the transition was actually quite seamless, which leads me to believe like I'm always meant to be doing this type of thing because it felt quite like just really good for me and like natural. It honestly has been the best thing for my relationship with food. Like it's been the best thing ever. I struggled with my relationship with food. I had an ED when I was super young. So going like in like bodybuilding, it wasn't bad. Like obviously education's there, you know what you're doing. But just like with my approach to food now, it's very much so just so balanced in what I feel like should be quote unquote normal. Again, it's like not normal for the average Joe to eat so much, but just like my approach towards it, it's food is everything. Like it's fuel, it's recovery. Obviously it's much more than that, but the transition was honestly like much more seamless than I thought. There was moments where I was like, when I really started to feel properly, I was like, wow, this is like a lot of food and like a lot of carbs on like rides and things, but now it's just like so normal, and like you just, I guess the education behind it, you recognize how beneficial it is to be fueled and how important it is.
You said as well, you felt the difference between being fueled and not being fueled, and the importance behind of like why you need so much food as well.
Yeah.
Do you think as well, when you said originally you were possibly under eating, but you didn't really have many injuries, you're still eating like probably around like the high 2000s.
Yes.
So it wasn't anything like
it wasn't crazy.
Yeah. Do you think that played a role in injuries later on?
I don't think so. I think my first year, honestly, like I was a bit thicker. I just finished a build. So I had like, so that probably played a part as well. Like my body was probably a bit more safe with the impact and things like that.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And then also my load wasn't drastic that first year. Like obviously it was my first year of endurance training. So it was still solid, especially the back end of the 10 months, but not what I was doing last year. And then last year, why I was so injured, there was a couple of definitely learning lessons that my training load was like too spiked, too high and things like that. But also my life stress, like I didn't realize how much my life stress would play such a big part of like recovery, stress fractures. Like it was such a stressful year last year that I think honestly, like on socials, probably played it off quite like it was living my best life, but there was so much going on behind the scenes. You just don't realize how much it affects your recovery and sleep and quality and all those types of things.
It's like the biggest thing in the world. And like literally from like Monday's episode that we just recorded before this one, we were just saying how much stress like basically does impact your whole entire life. And if you can't stay on top of that, then you're going to see other areas almost like fall. And for you, that came in injuries. And if you don't identify what's causing those injuries, then you're going to continue getting injuries. Because yes, you can stay on top of them and be reactive, but you need to be proactive in what's causing them.
Exactly. Yeah,
what does food look like now? What does a typical day in the life look like on your plate?
Should I go through my...
Yeah, I would love
really
to
love
hear.
to know.
Let's go... Should I go Saturday, like a big day?
Yeah.
Okay, so I always have a pre-training meal, which is Wheat Bix and honey before I go out on the bike. This is a Saturday day of training. I'll then have, let's say last Saturday, it was a 5-hour ride. So on that ride, I consumed 90 grams of carbs an hour. So do the math of that across 5 hours. That was from like maple syrup, had a Red Bull, lollies, carb mix in my bottles. I'll then go home and I had rice, eggs, pumpkin, ricotta cheese. So had that, I had chocolate coconut water, sculled that before I had that meal. That's something I changed as well. Like, last year I was obviously like, yes, I was good with my nutrition, but it would like, I'd get home from a ride and I'd wash my bike, I'd have a shower, put washing on. And by the time I'm eating, it's like an hour and a half later. So it's something I've really focused on this year is like, no matter how I'm feeling after my long rides or an intense session, I'll always like have chocolate coconut water. It's so easy to get down, and then have a meal. So yeah, definitely focusing on protein and carbs in that next meal. I then had my next session on Saturday, which was a swim, just a chill swim. So I did that like 2 hours after that meal. I then had like snacks, like muesli bars, probably had some chocolate, rice cakes, peanut butter, honey, things like that. And then for dinner, I had fish bowl, got a large bowl, then like had dessert, which is like cream of rice, like which is so easy to get down. It's like cream of, like a lot, cream of rice.
And people don't, that's like really carb heavy as well.
That's carb heavy, yeah. But in between that, like there's always snacking. So it's like chocolate rice cakes. I'm gluten-free, so I have a lot of rice-based things. Yeah, it's just like a lot. And that was well over 5,000 calories.
You know you're eating a lot and like burning through it when you can go from fishbowl to cream of rice. Yeah. Because I'm full after one of them.
See, and when I had that large fishbowl, not full.
Wow.
Like just kind of,
And you just would realize like how much your body's just like chewing
through. Yeah. It's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But that's obviously a big training day. So
Yeah, exactly. And if people can't eat that if they're not having the same output.
Exactly.
Are you tracking?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or like roughly.
Yeah.
Like I went through like last year, no.
Yeah.
But so like moving on from that, I was like, okay, I want to be all over it because I don't want the fueling to be a cause of my neck like injuries.
And more just to know you're
Eating enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like specifically like bodybuilding vibe tracking, but
you're
it's
like
very
every gram.
Yeah, it's very much so just like, okay, probably haven't eaten enough today. Let's add some more rice to dinner, things like that.
And then do you have like a rough calorie amount per like what your training day looks like? Or do you kind of just know what your body needs depending on how many sessions you have?
I kind of like roughly know, but with like, obviously it's quite inaccurate with like the Garmin and things like that, but you can kind of see how many, like if I have an intense ride, I'll know I've burned a good couple of 1,000 calories. So it's just like knowing, okay, today, like that on top of my maintenance, on top of life, on top of my next session, I'm going to have to eat like over 5,000.
Yeah.
And that's what people forget as well, because normally people carb load heading into a freaking 5-hour race, let's say, right? But you've just trained yesterday and you're fueled for that race. Then how are you meant to carb load for the next race? So it's like no matter what, you just have to eat a lot all the time to carb load, to recover, to then perform.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not just like that day. It's like the next day. So even tomorrow I've got a really intense bike session in the morning. I'll know that like if I underfuel today, I'm going to feel it tomorrow and I'm going to not perform. So it's just, you got to keep on top of it.
Oh, there's always so much to it.
I'd love to touch a little bit on body image because going from the extremes of bodybuilding and like we said at the start, like aesthetically pleasing sport to then fueling for performance, training for performance, how did that go? Like mentally transition?
Yeah. It was like, I mean, it was quite difficult in the sense of I was always in the gym and I was always, you know, training in a way that would build up your glutes, your delts and things. And then going from that to the polar opposite, it was a little bit difficult. Like I definitely lost muscle. Like in saying that though, like probably not as much as I thought, to be honest. But yeah, definitely like lost body fat. That was kind of inevitable because I was heavier than my normal anyway, like finishing a build. So the first few months I was kind of like fine. And then I feel like it was a bit of a struggle sometimes of just like, wow, am I just becoming like a cardio bunny, like not in the gym anymore? Like, because I was so tied to, even with business, like I was so tied to having a muscly physique for my business, which is coaching. And that's honestly, if I'm being honest, purely why I bodybuilded. Like I was working under a coach and just the thing to do was compete. So that's why I got into that. But then when I really like, again, like had that perspective of, okay, my physique's not everything. It's not the entirety of my business anyway. Like I'm not a bodybuilding coach, so I don't need to worry about looking like a bodybuilder 24/7. And then thinking about me when I'm younger as well and the struggles I went through then, I was just like, okay, if I'm feeling good and I'm feeling the best I have in like years now with what I'm doing with my training, that's the main thing. And that's what I always come back to as well. Even now, like, and let's be real, I feel like there's always body image days of just feeling a bit shitty in your skin. But if I think about how I perform and how I feel, that just gets me through massively of like knowing it's not all about aesthetic.
Have you noticed a shift in your business since going to? Yeah.
Huge. Yeah. And like a lot of my clients now like want to get into running or like triathlons or endurance. Honestly, like I've had I would say like I have probably like 3 clients doing a fat loss phase at the moment, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because like when I first started, it was like
The majority.
Yeah. Like the majority.
Wow.
So it's really cool.
It's cool how you pivot in your life as well. And then the people who you coach also pivot with you.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show that we're not tied to who we think we are.
Yeah.
And like you can transition into a different era and the right people are going to come with you at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Did you go through a bit of a shift in identity from bodybuilding to Ironman?
Yeah, I did. Again, I think it especially ties back to business. Like I kind of just felt like, what do I do? Where do I go?
Kind of.
Yeah. And I didn't like that I was like then known as like someone who just competes because I knew deep down it didn't light me up. So it was like a bit of okay, I know I want to change, but I feel like I'm in this box and I feel like I should be in this specific area of like the fitness industry. So that was like a little bit of a challenge, but I left the coach who I was working under. So then I was like, okay, this is my complete business. Like I can do what I want basically. So yeah, it was a bit of a challenge, but also when I started sharing my journey on socials when I first signed off to the Ironman, it was kind of like my social started growing. Everything was just like falling into place, and it was just so evident of like I was super happy doing what I was doing, and I haven't felt more myself, I reckon, this past couple of years than like ever. So it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, I'm clearly in the right area.
What I'm meant to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you always been a naturally driven person, or has it been something that you've kind of learnt and built over time?
I've definitely always been driven, and I don't know. I mean, I've always been into sports and like around the boys, like with surfing and surf club, and I've got a brother. I was always like very in that energy. So I've always been super just like stubborn, driven. Honestly, like I'm so stubborn. It's sometimes what causes issues, like last year with injuries. Do you know what I mean?
I get it. Yeah.
It's like I probably should have taken a step back.
A lot of elite athletes have that.
Yeah.
Have that problem, which is, you know, there's pros and cons.
Yes.
But for the most part, I feel like it's a good thing.
Yeah. It's like
For the most
you can
part.
use it in good aspects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like at the moment racing is more physical or mental for you?
Like actual race day,
Training for it.
training for it. I don't know. Like, I feel like it's more physical. I don't. I mean, I love the both sides of it. It just is like my routine of getting up and getting it done. But I think like with the run specifically, because I've had so many issues, it's definitely physical. Like my mind's, I don't know what the go is with my mindset, but it's just like I will just get it done, and I don't really complain or even let myself complain. That's probably another issue I have. Is like I don't, complain or like, I don't know. It's a hard one.
Which is almost the opposite for majority of the population. People actually don't realize how much they can push, and it's their mental capacity that's stopping them from getting to that next level. But with yourself, it's like, oh no, I can mentally do anything I set my mind to. It's like my body, that's the thing that gives up. But honestly, most people I meet, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, crazy. And that's why, like, even my coach now, when I met with him a week back, I was like, obviously he knows me because it's been, like, he's known me for a year now. But I said, if anything, like, I would do anything you put in the program. So you take control of that. Because even, like, last year, I probably should have not done certain things, but I did anyway because I was just like, well, I'm doing it.
For the people listening who want to get into some more like endurance events, where should they start?
I feel like, I think because I am a coach, but I would say like get a coach or a program or a plan or something of like what you're wanting to do. When people get into like, let's say running, it's obviously very popular to get into running at the moment. It can be one of those things where you see so many people injured because it's like 0 to 100. And it might be like rich of me to say I went from like nothing to an Ironman, but I did take 10 months and like I got a coach.
Prepped.
Yeah, I still prep for it. So I feel like having some sort of plan or like rough idea of what you're wanting to work towards, and don't go like if you're wanting to start to run, let's say a 10K, it would be silly to try and do like a 5K on a Saturday. Do you know what I mean? It's just like ease into it and enjoyment. I think a lot of people forget that you're meant to enjoy whatever journey you're on. Obviously there's tough days. Obviously there's hard sessions and doubt and all those things, but the enjoyment is everything. If you don't enjoy it, what's the point? And don't compare yourself. So many people compare themselves, and I'm not sure if it's like social media or just like the world we're in at the moment. But again, like it will just rob you of the work you're doing and happiness in your journey. So I think, that would be my main take on like getting into endurance.
Love that. I love that.
And finally, what are the biggest mistakes you see of people getting into triathlon or Ironman training to begin with, more so from beginner side of things?
I feel like the biggest mistakes is probably going like 0 to 100, like trying to do it all like instantly. For example, it's funny you say that. I had a DM just before, like a request from a girl just getting into triathlons, and she's just got a coach, and she sent me this massive paragraph like asking if it's normal for the coach to do like a 6-hour training week, whereas like I'm doing this amount. And it's just like so different. So I feel like when you're first beginning, again, like don't compare yourself and just focus on what you're doing. If you're a newbie at it all, a complete newbie, like that's so fun. Like it's so important to remind yourself of the progress you're making, and it's cool to look back on how far you have come when you are new at something. So just like consistently show up. Don't compare yourself to other people. I cannot express that enough. Don't get too wrapped up in the data as well. Like it's so easy to look at people doing really great paces or crazy watts on the back or whatever it might be, but it's just irrelevant because they're on a complete different wavelength than you. So yeah, just focus on your own journey, enjoy it, and don't rush that beginning process because that's the most important part, I think.
Well, it's like hopefully no one's out there comparing themselves, you know, for if they're starting now then to you who just came third at a bloody world champ. So it's like you've done the work, you've put in the effort and the time, and you can see that from this episode. But even still, it's like, okay, well, when she started out in her first race, she did first. It's like, well, you don't know what her background's been.
Yeah.
She, you know, you've done the work in some way or another. Like no matter what, you can't compare to someone that's like you comparing your first comp to someone else's first comp. It's just like, it could have been building for ages and you just didn't know. Like you just,
exactly.
it robs you of everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today's podcast. I feel like we all learnt so much and something so different in terms of the realm of like Ironman because we have absolutely no idea about it. And I feel like it was really good because we all asked all of like the basic beginner questions, which
good.
a lot of like our audience will also be kind of thinking too. So where can people find you on socials?
Instagram is just jaz.sloane and then YouTube is Jaz Sloane.
You hustle on YouTube as well.
I wouldn't say hustle. I've dropped my game. It's actually quite difficult, but I love YouTube. It's just like the editing.
Yeah. I get it. I really
Editing.
I know.
But it's so worth it when you like
It's
can
great.
look back on everything and document it for yourself, but then also take your audience along.
Yeah.
But it's a lot.
It's yeah. Oh, we love it.
But we do it. And we love it.
Well, thank you so much and we'll be in your ears next Monday.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.